The Old Uncle Bastard Show will begin in 1 minute. The Old Uncle Bastard Show will begin in 30 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. The Old Uncle Bastard Show is meant for an adult audience because the language can get pretty rough sometimes. Listener discretion is advised.
Uncle Bastard, here comes Uncle Bastard. Uncle Bastard, here he comes again. He's as cocky as can be, shakes his fist at cocky. Always yells, and he's out. Always mad, we're just glad we don't live with Uncle Bastard. Crazy Uncle Bastard. Uncle Bastard, time now for his show. He's an evil crazy nut, and he never wipes his butt. Crazy nut, wipes his butt. Always yells, and he's out. Always mad, we're just glad we don't live with what the hell? All right, you little crumb snatchers, beat it before I sick the dogs on you. It's time for the Old Uncle Bastard Show.
Oh, happy day, Calais. It's time once again for a visit from our favorite radio uncle. It's the Old Uncle Bastard Show, starring Bill Schmalfelt. He's the liberal grouch that you've come to love on Twitter, and now he's on internet radio. Can you feel the joy? Today's presentation, as always, is brought to you by Audible.com. Sign up for your 30-day free trial and a free audiobook download by logging on to audibletrial.com/olduncle-bastard. We're also brought to you by Stitcher Radio on Demand. Download the free app today and listen to Old Uncle Bastard and tens of thousands of other radio shows, and you don't even need a Wi-Fi or cell connection. Isn't that splendid? I'll say it is. And now, let's all greet the man, alcoholic former journalist Robert Stacey McCain called a deranged sadistic sociopath, your uncle and mine, Bill Schmalfelt.
And if our Stacey McCain says it's true, it has to be true. I mean, would Bobby lie? Happy Monday morning, everybody. Well, it's not Monday morning here anymore on the East Coast. It just turned into Monday afternoon. But for 3/4 of the country, or 4/5, depending if you want to include Hawaii and Alaska, which I guess we should for the purposes of being accurate. Good day. We'll just say good day. I'm Bill Schmalfelt, the liberal grouch, your old Uncle Bastard, and glad to be here. The weekends just seem to take forever because I just want to be near you and here with you. You heard my house announcer Cedric mention Stitcher Radio on Demand. It's a new service that has picked up the Old Uncle Bastard Show, and it's really kind of a neat thing. I added it to my iPad. Now you can listen anywhere, anytime, even without a Wi-Fi or a cell connection. And it's not just me. There's tens and thousands of other shows on there. So if you get your daily dose of bastardity during this hour and you want to listen to something else, by all means, just go to Stitcher.com. That's Stitcher.com. for more information. Or just go to your app store with whatever you're using and download it from there. Much ado today, we'll talk about this TGDN thing, this Twitter Gulag Defense Network. We'll bring that up. And we'll also talk about a special offer I'm making to my dear friend Lee Stranahan. Now, I went on at length about this on Twitter last night. Apparently, there is a popular misconception out there that I hate Lee Stranahan. That is not true. I cannot hate somebody I do not know. There are things I hate, like lying and stealing and fraudulent donations. Lying about your own family, lying about your circumstances. I hate that. I hate it when people lie about a sudden emergency need to move, and they use that to raise money, but then they don't move. You know, that's the sort of thing I hate, but I do not hate Lee Stranahan. I do not know Lee Stranahan. I have never met Lee Stranahan. I've spoken to him once when I called in on his radio show, and he just basically kept me on mute the whole time while he controlled the conversation. So coming up a little bit later on in the show, I discuss why I think Lee Stranahan is afraid of me and what we can do as a community to help Lee Stranahan overcome this fear. But first, with all this talk about guns and mental health and post-traumatic stress syndrome among veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan, what better idea could one have than to grab your neighbor and take a homecoming Marine, somebody fresh out of the war who has psychological problems related to post-traumatic stress syndrome, take him out to a gun range and put a weapon in his hand? What could possibly go wrong? Well, he could kill you. There's that. Now, I am not going to say anything negative about Chris Kyle. He was a Navy SEAL. He was a Marine. He served his country honorably, and his death and that of his neighbor is a tragedy. He's a fellow veteran, a fellow sailor, and I salute the life he led, defending our country. But I gotta question his judgment. The wisdom of putting powerful firearms into the hands of a man with mental issues, well, I guess he just learned that lesson a bit too late. Former Navy SEAL, author Chris Kyle. He's the man known as the most prolific sniper in American military history and author of the book American Sniper. He and his neighbor, Chad Littlefield, were familiar with a recently returned Marine who was suffering from symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. And what better way to help a guy get back on his feet, mentally speaking, than to take him out to the gun range and put a gun in his hands and shoot away some of that excess stress. After all, as they say, when you fall off a horse, the best thing to do is get right back on the horse, or else you'll be afraid of the horses for life, right? Well, apparently this former Marine, identified by police as Eddie Ray Routh, wasn't really ready for such a big step as handling a firearm. And he demonstrated this by allegedly shooting and killing both Kyle and Littlefield, and then stealing Kyle's truck and driving it off to his home. Police went to his home, and He led the police on a brief chase, which ended up with Routh in jail and the American sniper and his buddy with tags on their toes in the morgue. Let's talk a little bit about Kyle. He's credited for more kills than any other sniper in American history. And since his return from military service, he's been trying to help returning veterans dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. And he helped form a nonprofit organization that provides at-home fitness equipment for emotionally and physically wounded veterans. Now, it's not known whether or not giving guns to emotionally disturbed people was part of this program's curriculum. But according to CNN, Kyle was an outspoken advocate for war veterans who claimed more than 150 sniper killings during his time in Iraq, which he described as a record for any American. He even said the insurgents had placed a bounty on his head and nicknamed him the Devil. He leaves behind a wife and 2 kids. I'm not sure how many survive his friend. That's oddly enough not mentioned in any of the stories I could find on this subject. He appeared last year on the NBC reality show Stars Earn Stripes, in which competitors took on missions based on military exercises. Now, when I researched this story, authorities weren't sure what kind of gun was used to kill these 2 men. They got a lot to choose from. They brought a ton of them to the shooting range, according to CNN. They found 25 to 30 weapons, including handguns, long guns, and AK-47s. According to a story in USA Today, Travis Cox, director of Fitco Cares, a nonprofit group that Kyle helped start to help fellow veterans, told the Associated Press that the former sniper and Mr. Littlefield had taken Routh to the range in order to help this veteran who was struggling with PTSD and try to assist him, try to help him out, try to give him a helping hand. And while they were doing that, he turned the gun on both of them and killed them. In a statement, Cox said that Kyle served 4 tours of duty as a U.S. Navy SEAL. And this quote, which I found kind of odd. Cox said, "Chris died doing what filled his heart with passion, serving soldiers struggling with the fight to overcome PTSD. His service, life, and premature death will never be in vain." Well, I'll throw my weight behind that. I'll say his service to his country, par excellence. I have no trouble at all with guns and men who use guns, and sniping saves the lives of so many foot soldiers that has been a necessary part of war ever since there was war. It'd be nice to say that we don't need them anymore, but if you've got a war, you need snipers. But one is free to wonder whether taking an emotionally disturbed man to a shooting range with 25 to 30 deadly weapons will continue to be seen as a good idea by others who help those struggling with combat-related PTSD. Or will they, perhaps, wait until someone has all his emotional and mental ducks in a row before giving him an arsenal of high-powered killing tools from which to choose? Now, one is tempted to be flip and say, well, it happened in Texas. But there's got to be more to be learned from this. There's got to be a lesson taken from this. And when you've got Wayne LaPierre